white suit said he was a businessman, that he dealed in desire, that he gave people what they wanted. Could he give me the things that I wanted? The power to do something? The more I thought about it, the more I thought about the fact that with the ease of a snap of a finger, it took me to these strange places. What else could he do? Where did his power come from? And if he has all that power, what could he possibly get from me? He said he was a businessman, which means that if he was brought to me on business, it stands to reason that there's some kind of deal that can be made. Something that I could offer him. Maybe he wants money. The Worthington family is quite well off, but if he can just snap his fingers and get whatever he wants, why doesn't he just make money? The more I thought about it, the more it just made my head spin. I didn't understand it, but I suppose that's because I don't really understand how he was able to do those things. I looked over at Alice as she smiled, swinging her head from left to right, slowly humming her little tune. This might be a good time, I thought to myself. If there's one person on this planet who wouldn't call me crazy, I'd think it would be Alice. So, after a moment of trying to compose myself, I took a breath and patted her on the shoulder. Hey Alice, I asked. She looked over at me with a slightly confused expression. Oh, I thought we were being alone, but I guess you can talk to yourself while you're alone. So, what is it? She replied. Alice, do you believe there's such a thing as magic? I asked. I mean, do you think it's possible for people to have powers like magic? Like the kind that you read about in a fairy tale book? Alice had a confused expression for a few moments before it slowly began to shift into a wide grin. Of course magic is real, silly. Why? Are you gonna cast a spell on me? I smiled a bit. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I don't have any magic powers. But you do think it's real, right? I said, gently scratching my head, a little nervous about what she might respond with. Well, of course magic is real, Alice replied. Why else would they have all those books with magic in them? There are people all over the world who believe in magic. In fact, I read this book once, and it documented a group of people who performed human sacrifices in order to get magic powers. No, that's not quite what I meant, Alice, I replied. I mean, have you ever met anyone who could use magic? Alice smiled brightly. Yeah, actually I have, Alice replied. But I'm not telling you. What? I said, in surprise. Why not? Because it's a secret, she replied. Oh, but I do have a secret. I could tell you, Alice said, but you have to give me your word that you'll keep it a secret, and a real man never breaks his word. You are a real man, aren't you, Reginald? Oh, of course I am, I said, trying to straighten my back and sit a little bit taller. Alice stretched out her arm and extended her pinky. Okay then, pinky promise. You'll keep it a secret, right? Yeah, I'll keep it a secret. I swear. I reached out my hand and clasped her pinky with mine, sealing the deal. So, what's your secret? I asked. Alice began to lean in very close to me, still carrying her jovial smile. She leaned in very closely. It was quite uncomfortable, actually. I tended to find when Alice looked at me, it somewhat felt like being looked at by a tiger. Sure, a tiger is a very beautiful animal at a distance, but if one were ever close enough to lick you in the face, I imagine the thought going through your head would be something like, please, please, don't eat me. It was much the same with Alice. Pretty to look at, yes, but there was always a sense of wariness. Alice looked me right in the eye and said in a low tone, my secret is that I actually have magic powers. In fact, I actually have 2 of them. You do? I said, actually feeling a bit disconcerted about how close Alice was. Even more disconcerting was I couldn't tell how much of it was because she was pretty and how much of it was because she was scary. So what are your powers exactly? If you have them, of course. Alice looked around for a moment, checking to make sure that we were alone for whatever reason. It was fairly obvious we were alone. Okay, but I'll only tell you one, she replied. Okay, I said. What is it? I have a magic power called Destiny Sight. Destiny Sight? I replied. What exactly is that? What does it do? Well, Alice replied, still whispering in a low tone, Destiny Sight lets me see the strings of fate, or something to that effect, I suppose you could call it. It's sort of like a sixth sense for things that'll be important to my destiny. People, objects, even paths that I'm going to walk. They all glow. It all really depends on how important each individual thing is to my destiny. An object or person's glow can change over time. The truth is, there are far too many strings of fate in this universe for any one perceptual ability to be able to handle them. So while I can see when things are important to my fate, I can only really see that they are, and not really why they are. For example, I might walk into a dress shop and see a slight glow on a dress. That means that the dress is important to my destiny in some way, even if it is only a slight glow. Maybe I'll wear it at an important event. Maybe it'll get caught in a door, slowing me down, keeping me from getting hit by a car. I never really know, but the brighter the object glows, the more important it is to my destiny. For a moment, I stayed fairly silent, trying to roll over what Alice was saying. Was she being serious, or was she just toying with me? With Alice, you never really could tell. It's possible that she was being completely serious, that she actually does have a magic power, or at least believes she does. And as far as just playing with me, while Alice did occasionally play with me in terms of telling me something and then taking it back, or telling me that she was just joking, I never actually knew Alice to tell me anything seriously and then tell me she was joking afterwards. Okay, I replied. So how exactly did you get that power? I asked. Alice simply leaned back, taking her seat once again, and said, sorry, not telling. That wasn't part of the agreement. Oh, come on, I said. I already told you that I'd keep it a secret. Sorry, no deal, Alice replied, smiling and chuckling gently. But then a strange look came over Alice's face, as if a thought occurred to her. Hey, why are you so interested in magic all of a sudden? She asked. I looked at her for a moment calmly, mulling over whether or not I actually wanted to reveal why I was asking the question. But after a moment I sighed, looking back at the brook, staring down at my feet. And after a few minutes, this morning, I was staring out of my window, just reminiscing on some things, and suddenly someone appeared in my room, I said gently, starting to pull my legs in towards my chest. It was a strange man wearing a pinstripe suit. He said that he was there to do business, that he could offer me what I wanted, and then with a snap of his fingers he took me to these strange places. I know it probably sounds silly, I said, as I looked over to see Alice with a shocked expression on her face, surprised and actually quite excited. Alice smiled brightly, jumping over, grabbing me in her arms and hugging me tightly. I knew it! I knew it! I knew it! I knew it! I knew you were special too. What? What are you talking about? I said, exclaiming as she hugged me tightly. You've seen him too. The man in the pinstripe suit. What? You've seen him? I replied. Yes, of course I have, silly, Alice replied, relaxing her hug for a moment and taking her seat, but still overjoyed to hear that I had seen him too. Now you believe me. You've seen him, Alice said brightly. Have you made a deal with him yet? Alice asked. No, actually, I got angry and told him to leave, I replied. Alice looked surprised for a moment, but then relaxed a little bit. Don't worry, he'll be back, and when he is, you can get something special. And just like that, it hit me. The destiny sight she was talking about was real. The man in the pinstripe suit, he traded it to her, and all in an instant, it was like a glass ceiling shattering. The endless possibilities. What could I do? He could really grant wishes. I could make almost anything a reality. If he can actually do it. If he can give Alice powers, then he could give me powers too. Suddenly I felt a tight grasp on my jacket. I looked to find Alice staring me in the face. Her jovial attitude was gone, and now had a very serious expression on her face, for the first time I've ever seen it. "Regiment, you have to be careful," she said, looking me dead in the eyes. "Remember, the man in the pinstripe suit is powerful. He can give you things that you want, but it's not free. Everything comes with a price. You have to think about what you ask him for and what he's asking you for. If you make a bad deal, you'll get a bad result," she said, still glaring at me very intensely.